Hello everyone. I welcome you all for this webinar today that we have about online early childhood education. And I have with me Milla Mikkola, and she is joining us from Helsinki today. She is from Kindy Days and early childhood education expert and EdTech expert. Welcome, Milla, for this discussion.
Thank you.
And we also have Niels, and who is from the Education Finland, and he is the steering committee member for the early childhood education especially. Welcome, Niels.
Thank you, and very much welcome on my behalf also. I'm really excited, and I think we all are very excited about this event. We have heard what is going on in the world of early childhood education, and it is so clear that safety is the most important thing, how to keep children safe. And then the other is, of course, that how to provide good education at the same time. And to our understanding, the only solution to that is now to be kind of innovative, be flexible, and really see that how to steer between what you can call distance learning, online learning, there are many words for it, or then going back to the kind of traditional way of having a center. But I think today most people say that let's steer in the middle, and that requires a new approach, new working methods, and definitely then technology to make this possible in a very flexible way. But that is what we have heard that you need, and that is what we want to discuss with you. So very much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Niels. Thanks a lot. We are being joined by various teachers and school managers and principals from different countries. Since the time we declared this webinar, people were overwhelmed and they responded us very nicely, and they have been waiting for this discussion. So today we will try to discuss what are the major issues that we think about online early childhood education. So I would like to talk about it, that we see that there are different kinds of problems coming up in the early childhood education. People are thinking about whether they should have it or should not have it. That's what we got from our CCE's platform. That people are in a kind of a state of a dilemma. Actually, they are a little bit confused. What is your experience, Milla? What kind of questions and queries you are getting from across the globe?
Yeah, thank you very much, Shirin. Yeah, I think that first of all, the life changed so quickly that nobody had time to prepare for it. Kindergartens, preschools, nurseries needed to just quickly close their doors. And of course, look at that kind of situation for a short period, that would be fine. But then now we have already come to realize that this is not something that's passed in 2 weeks and will not be passing very quickly still. So now the managers and owners and teachers and also families have realized that there is a need for something. So the gap needs some kind of filling. But then a very clear concern towards using digital means to fill this gap has been the children's screen time. So this is something that has come up several times. I'm very privileged that I get to talk to kindergarten owners and managers from around the world now during my work with Kindy Days. And this is something that the parents are very concerned. And that, of course, means that, yes, you have to take it very seriously. If online education means that the children sit in front of the screen as many hours as they would spend in the early education center, otherwise, it would be very worrisome. And that cannot be the case. But then, yes, we've had discussions that how to organize then if it doesn't mean that the children only stare at the screen for hours. So yeah, screen time being one. Then also maybe some families, they are very worried about, or everybody's worried about the health, of course, and safety. So they have decided that they will not take their children to the center, not even if the government decided that the doors can open. They will want to keep their children inside the house until there is a vaccination. And personally, that's worrisome then to me, if we are only waiting for a vaccination. That could be a year or it could be 2. Is there going to be vaccination? Who will receive it? So that's also a concern, perhaps from the education, the teachers, and from the managers and owners' perspective. That is it okay that the children are kept inside for a year? And what does that mean then? So that kind of concerns came to my mind. What about you, Shirin?
Yes, so actually we also got some such kinds of questions from the early childhood education perspective. And basically the questions were very much practical actually. They were asking about, like what happens if they sit in front of the screen for longer time? Is it going to have some difficulties for them in later life, like they might develop some kind of eyesight problems, for example. Or they might have, like we often talk about the problem of sitting in front of the screen for longer time, which may hamper your information processing in your brain. And sometimes the children get carried away so much with the images that they are not really ready to listen something serious which doesn't have so much images or something like that. So that is one kind of concern. And then again, as you said, that for how long they can keep the children at home. And then the parents also come to us and then they ask us that how we engage our children. The teachers also come to us and they ask how should we engage the students, because this online platform is a new change for many of the teachers. Earlier they had a choice whether they want to use it or not, but now it's not a choice, it is a kind of compulsion that they need to use it, they have to use it. Though in Europe, in some parts, they have started the schools, but still I heard from the teachers who are working in those schools that they said that some parents who are not willing to send their children to the actual setup, like actual ECE centers, then they need to use both the methods, which means that they need to teach the children who are coming to the school or preschool, like when they are in the classroom, so classroom teaching, and plus they have to also think about the online teaching for those who are not coming to the school. So this is kind of a very difficult situation. So I'm getting one update that we have more than 300 people who are watching us. So again, a warm welcome to all from YouTube. And then we have 350 plus viewers who are watching us from Facebook. So welcome to you all. 670 plus people on CCE's website. So altogether we can see that more than 1,000 people are currently watching us, because I understand them totally, because this is a situation which is concern for all of them. And that's what we are trying to do now, that what can be the answers to these questions. So like some more points I would like to put is that teachers, when they try to teach in the online setup, they are often worried that whether the students are getting what they are saying and whether they are willing to sit in front of the screen, and then what kind of schedule they might have or what they might create for them, what kind of curriculum, learning outcomes, what kind of objectives they should use, in this case learning objectives. And then they don't know, like if it's a mixed group, let's say from age 1 to 3, or let's say age 3 to 6, they are together, then what kind of activities they should do. So I guess we are coming up with those answers, and we will talk about those things in coming weeks through our webinar series. So this first webinar, what we are conducting right now, it is kind of an introductory webinar, and then we will talk few things in detail here, but the time will not be enough to discuss everything. So of course we are then launching a webinar series. But Milla, in this case, I would like to ask you, what do you think about the current situation? What is your personal opinion that how this situation can be handled about the online education in the early childhood?
Yes, yeah. Yes, so to add one more point, you mentioned the activities. So what I've also heard is that some parents think that it's okay to keep the children at home because they have YouTube, they have TV, they can children can learn. They can always find the worksheets after worksheets to give for the children. But it is a general worry that how to continue the learning in that way that is planned for that aged child, how the professionals have planned that the pedagogical learning should follow. So there is a difference between a parent introducing random activities on a daily basis versus the early childhood education professional planning it and engaging with the children in the way they know is best. So I think that's definitely an important part, that how to continue the learning or how to make sure that the children can continue the learning. And that's of course something that I am also personally very much all about. So I would like to see that the children get to participate in activities and be engaged with also other children and with the teacher, so that it doesn't mean that the child is just blocked out of this changing situation completely. I think that actually Shirin told a very, very funny example of some child that was interviewed, that what do they think, why are the schools closed?
Yeah, yeah, thanks for reminding. Actually, it was a very funny incident, and it was like in one of the villages, they were interviewing the children that why do you think that you are having these holidays? So the children were telling that we think that there is something called Corona, and it might be a festival, and for that we are getting these long vacations. Of course, those kids were not exactly from preschools, they were from primary schools, but still we can think that what kind of ideas are going to them if you don't really educate them about what is it and why it is important to stay home. And I guess that's why it is crucial that we keep them in the learning process. They shouldn't be out of the learning process, though maybe they are not at the school, but they shouldn't be totally out of the learning process. And that's why it is important that we keep on the learning. Like we should keep on the online learning, so that the kids are into the streaming of the learning, and then they can follow the situation, like what is happening around them, why it is happening so, and how it is going to end or when it is going to end. So they also have their own ideas about all these things.
Yes.
So, yes. Yeah, Milla, you want to add something on this?
Yeah, just that the continuation of learning is so important for the brain development, that from birth to 5 years, the child's brain develops more than at any point in their life. So then also for that reason, it would be a shame if the child was just left for a year or two to wait for the vaccination and so forth. So also that's why. And then also the experiences, all the experiences, they shape the child's brain development. So then to get a variety of experiences is definitely important. And then again, the brain development in the early years then has a has a very strong impact on the later life in the schooling and in the learning. So those important years should not be looked down upon.
Yes, you said perfectly about it. Of course, brain development is a pivotal issue in this case, because we all know that when the child is developing from the age 0 to 8, it is a very crucial that the child, they get a lot of exposure, as much as exposure as possible, and then they get to explore the things on their own, so that they have these connections of synapses into their brain, which formulates the big neural way, or kind of a way of neuron in their brain, which stays there for long time and for lifetime. So in some things, so it comes to the language learning, because that is the most obvious things that they learn into the first early years. Then it also comes to the muscle control, for example, like they learn to move, and they learn to grab the things. So as we all know, the gross motor skills, the fine motor skills, so these are all important. And then we need to think like how we can keep them on the track, this development track, even through this lockdown kind of situations in many countries. I think we are getting one question here. Let me read it for you. We are getting a question from Afza, and she's asking, how effective will online teaching or learning be, since early learners are kinesthetic learners and at home they are not equipped? So what do you say about it, Milla?
Yeah. How I see that here in Finland, our clients have dealt with also the situation that the children were recommended to stay home. In Finland, there was some 20% of children that kept going to the early learning centers, but majority stayed home. So how the teachers managed it here, they did not connect online and sit the children in front of the screen, but they kept sending engaging activities that the children could do at home that were relevant for their learning. They were suitably challenging for their age. They made them happy as well, but they also then learned through those activities. So it is just that if the teacher does very well the planning and thinks that what kind of things the children in my group should be learning next, or would be great that they got experiences and practice at, the teacher has to just use creativity and send it perhaps in a short video that describes how the activity could be done at home using the materials that can be at home. I gave an example, for instance, what comes to mathematical learning. The teacher could send a task that calculate all your socks, sort all your socks into different colors. Go also and calculate your parents' socks. How many socks do you have all together? How many different colors can you spot? So these are items that everybody finds from their home, and they are nice for the child. And at the same time, then the parent and the teacher can see that can the child recognize colors? Can they group items? Can they calculate? Can they even do simple addition? So it doesn't mean that the activities should be in front of the screen, but they would need to have some specific material. But yes, what it definitely demands is creativity from the teacher's side, and interest and will to think outside of the box. So
yeah, thanks, Milla. Thanks. That was a very nice and elaborate answer. And we have got another question. I can answer that. Mr. Prakash Dev, and he's asking, has any international health organization recommended any screen time for different age groups? If yes, will you please elaborate? So actually, the normal recommendation of the screen times in this case is not more than 2 hours in a day, that is the normally what the doctor recommends for any age group. It shouldn't be more than 2 hours per day. But we had actually a very good webinar on this topic where Hiram explained about the active screen time and passive screen time. Sorry, my video was off for a while. So Hiram was talking about active screen time and passive screen time. So basically, what does it mean is that let's say if you are doing some activity like Kahoot. Many of us know what Kahoot is. So it's a quiz. So you are playing a quiz where the child is not looking at the screen continuously, but he or she gets a break in between, because when she or he is clicking the option, then he needs to think about the answer. So there is something going on, some process is going on, and that's why it becomes active screen time then. And also there is another type of active screen time, is that a teacher can teach about or talk about a small concept, or let's say rhyme, or then they talk about the things at the house. So for example, a teachers tell to the students that go and find from your house anything that starts with the letter C. And then the children go and then they find out if they get something which starts from the letter C. For example, cap, or if somebody might have a cat also. So then they can bring those things. So then it becomes an active screen time where the children are working on something and the teacher is on the screen. So this way we can have this kind of interaction or kind of a blended learning. That's what we call nowadays. It's that when you are blending the learning from the online, like the screen, and also the active learning. Yeah, there is interesting questions coming up from Julie, and we have this question: how do we promote children's social skills in this period of time? So what do you think, Milla?
Yes, so it is extremely crucial, of course. So with this kind of sharing activities and giving activity ideas for the families to support their children's learning, it is one part of the whole holistic development of the child. But very good that you bring up also the social side, interaction. We do need to be very creative as teachers. We could organize for instance, Zoom meetings that are only about singing. They can be about dancing, just that the children can see each other and know that their group exists. They are still part of their own group and their teacher still cares about them. So there could be this kind of perhaps weekly get-togethers that the only objective is to interact and socialize. But then also, well, another idea that I have given is that all the children could be, for instance, given a task that take a photo of your breakfast plate and share it with your with the group. So then again, the children can know that a little bit interact. Yes, there is just a digital connection there, but we can't really avoid that either. That in these times, if we cannot go and play together, then we need to be creative and find ways that we can use the digital means to connect. Again, it doesn't mean that it is just sitting and staring at the screen, but doing little activities that can be shared with others. And then again, the others can see everybody can see what each other they've done, and get a nice feelings and nice discussions maybe at home as well. Perhaps nice ideas what to do also at home. So that kind of interaction. And then if it is possible to meet up outside. So of course that would be nice to then gather everybody in a play park, minding the social distance, and so that sense in Finland we are well off that we are allowed to go out at this point. Maybe not to play in each other's houses, but meet in the parks. So again, the teacher could initiate something like this, that all the families, let's meet up in a certain park mind the distance, but get to interact.
Yeah, great. I have also one more addition to what you suggested just now, is that meeting up outside. And so the addition can be that maybe there are some families living in the same area of the city, and the children are going to the same preschool. So maybe they can meet up for even for the learning activities together, if that is possible. So then the children feel good that they have somebody else who is also doing the same activity with them, and then they don't feel so much isolated. This way they will also develop the social skills, like sharing and communication and talking to each other and taking care of each other. So all these kinds of, because this is indeed a very crucial point about their social and emotional development in these years. So definitely they shouldn't miss out on these parts. So of course what you suggested, Milla, is very very good and very much appreciated. We have a next question from Hemali Shah, and she is asking how to explain those parents who doesn't want online education. Do you have any suggestions for her?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that you need to describe and define what is online education. So as we mentioned, it can be just that the parent has a completely wrong idea of what the online education means. Then what I have noticed that works for parents is that from the kindergarten teachers and managers side, if they would really like to continue educating the children despite the lockdown, that they would present to the parents that what are the goals that these children have, or what have they set for as goals of learning for these children for the coming 6 months, for instance, and make it quite concrete that these are the topics we would like to cover, and they are helpful for the children for this reason. We understand the child's developmental needs. We know our group, we know their interests and their strengths and their needs, and we would like to continue educating them and engaging with them. So to make it understandable for the parents that online education doesn't mean either that the teacher just goes to YouTube and shares a link of a random yoga session, and that the teacher gets out of this easy because they can just send random activities. It doesn't mean that the teachers have all the time the pedagogical brain work going, and maybe the parents should just be told that what does the online education mean, then how are you organizing it, what will the children learn, and how will they be engaged in the activities, and make the plan very visible and the learning path very visible for them, so that they really understand that you are doing a pedagogical work that is important for their development at that point. So
yeah, exactly.
that's their awareness. I think that's
that's very much correct. We have another question from Medha Kulkarni, and she's asking that at early age kids learn through their senses. How can we give such experiences in online teaching? So I would like to suggest that actually we can't really copy everything from the physical classrooms to the online classrooms. So online early childhood education do not replace the physical classroom, but it will supplement, and it's a creative stopgap arrangement. So basically what we can do is that whenever we are having these online sessions, we recommend that the teachers design the activities where they can think about this sensory learning, and then with the help of parents they can do such activities wherever the kids are. We are going to talk more about this during our series of webinars, where we have a session about it, that age appropriate activities and the learning objectives, like activities related to learning objectives. So this will really then solve the problem. We are going to give some guidelines about those. So, but again, I would like to say that this is just a stopgap arrangement. And basically, currently, we instead of stopping the education totally, it is good that we have something. So as we always say, something is better than nothing. So that's why it is good to have something there. I would also like to give an example from Germany. Actually, I had a meeting with a German teacher in our other course, Diploma in Early Childhood Education, and he shared a very good example for social distancing. Social distancing, and it is like because we were discussing about people meeting up. So what he did in his kindergarten also. So those of you who can open their doors, please listen to this. And those who want to have some small meetings at their home, they also can use this idea. So what he did is that he asked his students to get their own cuddling toy from home, their own home. And then what he did is that when they used to sit for any activity, he used to ask the child to put the cuddling toy next to him or her. So, for example, if I'm sitting on the chair at this moment, I will have my cuddling toy and I will put it on my right hand side chair. Then the next child will sit on the next chair, and then he will also put his toy on the next chair to him. So this is a very good way of social distancing. They even don't feel isolated. They feel that somebody is there besides them. So I guess this is a very good activity and very good thing to implement. We are getting another question here from Himali again. Is it advisable to take a drop from school from a year for 3 to 4 year child? So what do you advise, Milla? Is it good to take a drop for 1 year?
Well, from the age of 3 to 4, the child is developing and needing the structure in their life that also this kind of online education could bring. And then there is, again, I underline that somebody professional would plan the activities. So of course, it's always nice that 3-year-olds are still young. It doesn't mean that they would need to learn to read and write. They can definitely learn that in the later years. But perhaps to just keep engaged in various type of activities from different learning areas, and really thought by the professionals. So I would personally believe the professionals in this way, that they would know what kind of activities to plan and how to also spot perhaps some needs. So if there is this constant collaboration between the professionals and the family, then it means that there is a professional that is observing the child and can see if there are any gaps in the learning. So yes, they can see the strengths, but also the needs in a different way than the family member or the parent could perhaps see, being engaged with the child 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very apt answer, because we don't know that what kind of learning difficulties that child might develop, because the parent is there with the child always, and he might not notice if anything is going wrong. So this is a very crucial point that you mentioned here, you raised here. Another point is that the socialization, which Vygotsky always emphasized, that the child needs the socialization. And also the developmental psychology says that after age 2, the children need the social support and they need the social activity. Otherwise, their social and emotional development is hampered. So considering that factor also, we need to see that the child gets is on the learning path and also is getting socialized. So I think then that's I also recommend that it is not a very good idea to take a complete drop from the school, from the
and to add, if the child has already been in the center and in the learning environment, it's also a traumatic change for them if they then have a whole year without that engagement. And then maybe going back is also more difficult. So to have some kind of connection to the learning environment, just to keep the continuity as well. But then another point from the parents' point of view, that also if somebody is planning your child's activities and their learning path, and also making sure that the child develops and observes their development path, so then the parents can also be more relaxed, that somebody is taking care of that. Maybe as a parent, if I was only taking care of myself, maybe I would also start to doubt that are these activities that I am providing now suitable? And then the parent would have somebody to also talk with. When there is a connection to the school and to the familiar adult, then the parent can get the support as well, that they maybe then don't get if they decide to drop out completely.
Yeah, great. So we have next question here. How do you, from Vaishali Borde, and she's asking, how do you think group dynamics can be developed in online classes?
Yes, very good question as well. Again, it needs the teachers' guidance and teachers' creativity. That if it is that they cannot meet at all, how can you encourage the children to interact with each other? And I think some creative little moments, if you can go online and just see each other for 5 minutes, sing a song together. Wouldn't it be nice if every morning you could gather still and just to sing the morning circle song and see each other? That would already really strengthen the group dynamic. But also just to share these individual messages from different children and different families, that it needs the teachers connecting all the families together. And the teacher needs to think that with what kind of tools can I connect with the families, but how could the families together as well connect, and create structure there as well. That decide that every Wednesday it is a moment where everybody captures a moment of their playtime and shares with the other families, assuming every family has agreed that this information is shared together. So really to think in a creative way, what kind of little tasks can we give for the children to be shared with the group, that the group dynamics continue developing. And it is an important part for when the doors open again, that the children feel that they are part of the group.
Yeah, great. So next question we have from Mahajan Sahib Rao, and this is a very interesting question actually, because we have been talking about involving parents into the online education, and he is asking that, do you think that early childhood online education is possible without parents? So, I will just start answering it, and later you can also comment on it, Milla. So according to my understanding and whatever we are learning about the dynamics of online education, I don't think that it is possible to exclude the parents completely. Of course, the teacher can decide that how much she or he wants to involve them, but it is not possible to really exclude them totally. Otherwise, it's like you are missing out a very important part of the child's life if you are not involving the parents into it. Maybe you can set up some collective rules that where parents should come in and where they shouldn't interfere. So it's up to your own, it's actually your strength, the teacher's strength, pedagogical strength, where the teacher can tell them that, okay, this is my job, I will do it, and now this is your job, that you can do it. So that way, if you really, take parents as co-teachers, we are also going to talk about that in this series of webinars, where we are going to talk about how to involve the parents into the online education. Because the kids are so small in this age group, so they can't really do anything on their own. They can't open the laptop, they can't start the computer, they can't accept the Zoom meeting invitation. So practically they need the parents for doing all such things. Yeah, Milla, your take on this.
Oh yeah, exactly. I completely agree that it would be wrong to assume that children can sign in, log in, accept, produce their work and share it with teachers. That happens a lot later in the schooling years. So parents are needed just as much as parents are needed in assisting in most of the tasks and moments in life in such young years anyhow. So certainly the learning and the schooling the children cannot handle on their own either. But that's then also something very Finnish, that the parents are actually like a partner for the teachers and for the education center also in the normal sense. So their assets are used in understanding the child's current situation and supporting their learning and so parents are important part always, but then especially now during these times you could not handle it without the parents on board. Again, if you describe it and explain the situation very well for the parents and help them to understand that what is their role, it doesn't mean that they become teachers. Also, it doesn't mean that they are on their own. There has to be very tight communication and collaboration with the families. Teachers need to accept their feedback, hear all the time how the parents see that their child is learning. Are the activities good? Is the child enjoying? So all of those observations need to come from the families, because children are not able to put those into words or documents. So therefore, we always say that if otherwise the teacher is observing the child and their activities and moments, now the parent is needed for doing these observations, at least collecting the evidence and sharing with the teachers that can then do the pedagogical documentation and understanding of the child's learning and moments. But good cooperation with families, definitely very important.
Milla, I suggest that why don't you give the information about Kindiedays app, and how it can be used for the parents and teachers together. So because it's a very useful app to be used in these kind of situations, especially.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Shirin. So yeah, normally with Kindiedays, the teacher would be observing the child's development and documenting the child's development or learning moments, and connecting them to a preset learning objectives or curriculum. It can be any national curriculum or a curriculum with objectives that the center has decided that the children should follow in their learning. So any curriculum as the structure for the learning, and as the teacher observes the child, they can connect those learning moments with the curriculum objectives and with evidence of learning. So of photos or videos that show that the child learned or got to practice a certain objective that is set for the child at that time. And then this creates a portfolio of learning. So all the time the families can follow what kind of learning moments there has been, follow the positive moments, that what kind of pedagogical objectives the child has been practicing, and so. But then now in this case, teacher has no way of documenting those learning moments because the child is at home. So therefore the families are needed, yes, to assist the child to complete the activity, whether it is then calculating the socks, maybe they do the calculation on their own, but how do they tell the teacher that they have completed the task? So the parent would be the one that in these cases would document the moment or collect the collect the evidence. So collect a photo or a video of the child completing the activity and sharing that back to the teacher. So then the teacher is able to see that the child was engaged in the activity. They can see whether they were able to calculate or sort out the colors. If the family member is able to then spot that actually my child didn't recognize these colors, then the teacher has that information and they can again plan an activity that would support the child's learning the colors. So now the families, what comes to Kindy Days, they would need to receive the activity sent by the teachers in their Kindy Days family app and share the evidence of learning back to the teacher, so that the teacher can do the work of documenting that moment, adding the evidence of learning, connecting to the curriculum objective set for the child, and follow the learning path. And again, know what kind of activity to plan next. What kind of a learning area should be practiced today if during the previous weeks we have practiced already so many other things. So that's the way Kindy Days supports this connection between the teachers and families in this, also in the remote learning time, just as well as in the normal time. And perhaps Kindy Days is now a good one in that sense that if we need the blended learning, so sometimes the children are in the center, in a week's time, the center has to close their doors again. So the learning path is recorded all the time, and the teacher knows where each child is at and what should be offered next, so that the child can for sure get holistic education and develop in their own learning path.
Yeah, perfect. So, and of course, Kindy Days is also like included in our Sisu Box for the preschools. And then we are also coming up with the Sisu Box for parents, because now with the new normal, we know that the parents will be at home and then they need these activities, because this is one of the popular question that was asked by the parents to us, to CCE, that what shall we do, what kind of tools we should use, what kind of toys we should use. So then we are going to now give them something to be used, something very handy that they can use easily according to the age of the children. So and this is what we are coming up. And of course, as you said, we are going to talk about at length about these things, about like designing the age appropriate activities and taking the help from the parents in the online education throughout our webinar series. So that is going to be,
and also how to draw these kind of learning objectives together.
Yes, exactly.
How to plan and implement a curriculum.
Yes. We have got one question again here from Manali, and she is asking, how long do you expect online education to go on? There are mixed signals from the policymakers about the same. So Manali, I would like to tell you that this is a very complex question at this moment. Nobody knows the answer, because in different countries the situation of the pandemic is different. So the governments in those countries are taking the decisions according to the conditions in their own country. So for example, in Egypt, they might start the schools somewhere in September, but they are still not sure whether they are going to start the schools in September. In some countries, they have said that there will not be any school for 1 year, like physical school. So it really depends on that country and the condition of the health and condition of the pandemic in that particular country. So we can't really have a concrete answer to this question. There is another interesting question from Prakash Dev, and he's asking, what screen size of mobile is recommended for children? Milla, do you have any take on this?
Well, of course, the smaller the device, then I guess closer they put it in their eyes, and I would understand that that's not good. But if it is a short time, I guess children are using also the mobile phones. But then again, I would like to shift the discussion from staring at the screen. That really would like to underline that the online education doesn't mean that the child is staring at any sized screen for a long time. or not necessarily even short time. The online education can continue without the child looking at the screen even once during the day, assuming that the parent is able to then describe that what is the activity the child should be doing this day.
Yeah, perfectly. I would also like to say one thing about it. It's that we need to understand that we are talking here also about the distance education and not only about education that happens using the devices. Another thing for the answer for this question is that it is better that if you have the laptop or desktop somehow which can be used for the online education, or then if you have the tablet, for example, where the screen is a little bit bigger than the mobile, so that is more recommended considering the question of the screen size. But as we already discussed it, the online education doesn't only mean that we should use the screens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one. And then we are getting some more questions here. Shivani Madan, at what age exactly we should start giving the pencil to kids? At the early age, they start doing doodling with crayons. So she has a very specific question, like from which age you can shift from using crayons to using pencils. So what do we do in Finland, Milla? Please tell.
Yes, it's a very good question. In Finland, we're not teaching the children to, for instance, ride at the very early age. Before they go to school, preschool or school at the 6 and 7, they are not demanded to ride. Even if the child didn't want to or didn't know how to hold a pencil, that would still not be an alarming signal. They are expected to learn that at school. But the truth is that children do hold pencils. They pick up their crayons and they learn to hold the pencil. When I was a teacher, we had crayons for the 3-year-olds still. After that, still the 3-year-olds also had access to pencils and different tools. So I think it's more so that that you would have them available and the child's own interest would guide them to using the pen when they are interested in it. If they have a variety of tools in front of them, they will most likely also go and test the variety of tools and learn even the pencil grip quicker than somebody decides that at the age of 3 they are no longer allowed to use crayons and they are forced to use the pen. So yes, the Finnish way is always that let the child's own interest guide the learning and also learning to hold the pen. But yes, so from my own experience, the 3-year-olds still like to use the crayons very much, but the 4-year-olds started to get the interest towards the thinner markers and pencil as well.
Yeah, great. Thanks for this answer. Actually, this was a little bit of out of scope question for this discussion, but I took it quickly because it is like many parents and teachers, they would like to know about what we do here in Finland. So that's why I took this question. So we are actually, when we were discussing earlier, we were also talking about the teacher's role in this whole process and how to keep them motivated was like one of the thing that we wanted to discuss in this session of the webinar. So what do you say on this, Milla?
Yes. So then if the preschool or center decides that they want to continue the children's learning, they want to provide ways for the children to continue their learning even from home. So what is very important is that the team works, that the whole team decides that they are now open for new experience. And of course, then you, as the owner or manager, would need to do the groundwork work of searching for the right tools to be used, so that there would be a common way between all the families and all the groups. Because if you are using a little bit of this and a little bit of that, it's very difficult to manage when it's online. So yes, how to motivate the teachers, come up with a very clear plan, come up with the tools that support the teachers' work and make it easy. Same thing, keep the parents happy. So then when the parents are happy, then the teachers are also happy and motivated to continue. Be patient. So there are different levels of tech skills, or maybe even a different self-confidence. Some teachers are very confident learning new, some are less confident. So be sensitive towards this new situation for the teachers, what comes to the teachers as well. It is learning for everybody. So I think with a good spirit, with the right tools and a good groundwork and a good organization, you can make it very, very pleasant for the teachers as well.
Yeah, great. And I think when the school leaders, like the principals or vice principal or any kind of leaders in the school, when they make the goals very clear, and when they make the learning objectives and why they want to really go for this online education, if the purpose is very much clear, then the teachers are motivated to do the things, because then they know that what they need to do and why they are doing it. So I guess the purpose matters a lot. We are going to discuss about all these things through our course. I will shortly go through the structure of it, because we are getting this question that what is going to be the course and how it will be. So I will share it with you. So the bottom line of this webinar was to, find out the possibilities of early childhood education in this online way. So is it possible that we give the online education to the early childhood kids, like the kids from the age mainly from 2 to 6, because that is in many countries, that is the age for early childhood education. And that's what we have been discussing for this last 1 hour almost. And Milla, I would like you to give your final remark, that what do you think, like, is the early childhood education possible online?
Yes, so I think it is possible. I think that with the right tools and with a good organization, it is completely possible, and it is very vital that the families are not left alone. It's the teachers' responsibility to make sure that everybody is engaged in the right activity, and also maybe from the social or emotional perspective, doing okay during these difficult times. So I think that there is a lot of health and social and emotional aspects, as well as different kinds of learning aspects, as to why there should still be connection between the early education center and homes also during these times.
Yes, great, thank you. And one last question we will take now is that from Manali, and she's like, is using headphones during online sessions okay, or would it have any ill effects? As some schools suggest that the children use headphones so that they are not disturbed and are able to focus better. So again, I would like to say that online do not mean screen time only. So it's like the blended learning. And there shouldn't be much need of using headphones for longer period of times. Of course, the schools might be suggesting to use the headphones, as you stated already, to focus better. But that doesn't mean that they should have it for 4 hours in a day. It is not necessary at all. So it is just for a short while that they should use it. As we discussed, it is better to use the headphones in place of earphones. So because that is much better than the earphones. Great. And so now I will just explain a little bit about the course that we have been discussing throughout our webinar. So I'll just quickly share my screen here. Okay, so we are seeing the screen already on uh, on your YouTube video, and where you can see that for this course, the course content is given here, and where we are going to talk about understanding the new normal, learning objectives for online education, organizing the teaching learning with the help of technology, age-wise activities and assessment, and parents as co-teachers. Who can attend this course is, of course, the school owners or managers, principals, teachers, and maybe parents also, if they would like to understand this whole process about the education, online education. So they are also more than welcome to attend this. The course duration will be like live webinars, 5 sessions for 5 hours. Like one webinar session will be for minimum for 1 hour. It may extend a bit as per the need of the topic. And there will be some small assignments, reflective assignments and tasks for approximately 5 to 8 hours. Um, the dates of webinars also you can find there on our website. That is 23rd June will be the first, second will be on 26th, third will be on 30th June, fourth will be on 3rd July, and fifth will be on 7th July. And you will be given an access to attend these webinars on your own. Currently, we have a promotional offer for this series of webinars. Altogether, it cost 250 euros. Let's say 50 euro per webinar, but we will be offering this course for 150 euros only for till 20th of June. So if you start enrolling now and till 20th of June, this offer is valid. So please make use of this offer and join us for this discussion. Thanks for all the questions that you have put up here during the discussion. It was a very interactive discussion for all of us. Next, the questions, very particular questions, when you have specific questions, those we can take during our course when we are proceeding further. So thanks a lot for joining us here today. And thanks, Milla, and thanks to all our viewers, and to all the people who have been talking to us about their concerns in the online education. So I thank you all, and we take your leave now for today. And let's meet again on 23rd of June. The procedure for joining the course is very simple. You will find a registration form on our webpage where you can put all your information, and then you can make the payment online. Also, for those who want to make the payment through online transfer, you can use those things there. In this course, we are not going to talk only about the theory lessons, but we are going to solve the practical problems. So we will also discuss different cases during our discussion. So be there and join us for this course. Milla, do you have any last comments?
Yeah, thanks. I would also like to thank for all of you for watching and listening, and it's been very nice to talk to you, Shirin. And I think our following courses now and webinars will be a bit more theoretical, but yes, like you mentioned, let's keep the cases and this interaction going then as well, because best we learn when we can interact and answer your questions and work with you. So I'm very much looking forward to the next courses and getting to continue